I join the Prime Minister in offering condolences to all those who died in the horrific attack fuelled by hate in Quebec, and I think we should send our solidarity to everyone in Canada on this sad occasion. Mr. Speaker, may I also associate myself with the Prime Minister's tribute to the former member for West Lothian and later Linlithgow, Tam Dalyell. A Labour MP, former Father of the House, he doggedly fought to expose official wrongdoing and cover-ups from the miners' strike to Iraq. I'm sure that the Prime Minister would agree with me that Tam's scrutiny and contributions made this House a better place. And can I recommend to all members his autobiography, The Importance of Being Awkward? And I'm quite happy, Mr. Speaker, to offer my copy to the Secretary of State for Brexit to have a good read of it. I'm sure he's probably already read it. Mr. Speaker, at last week's Prime Minister's question time, the Prime Minister told the House, "I'm not afraid to speak frankly to the President of the United States." What happened?
Well, first of all, can I say to the Right Honourable Gentleman that I wasn't aware of the book that he's referred to by Tam Dalyell, The Importance of Being Awkward, but I suspect, given the number of resignations he's had from his front bench, that some of his colleagues have indeed read that book. I'm happy to say to the Right Honourable Gentleman that when I visited the United States, I'm pleased to say that I was able to build on the relationship we have with our most important ally and to get some very significant commitments from President Trump. And crucial among those was a 100% commitment to NATO. NATO which keeps us safe and keeps Europe safe too.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, Downing Street has not denied that the Prime Minister was told by the White House that the executive order on travel to the US was imminent. So let's be clear, was the Prime Minister told about the ban during her visit, and did she try to persuade President Trump otherwise?
First of all, on the policy that President Trump has introduced, this government is clear that that policy is wrong. We wouldn't do it. In 6 years as Home Secretary, I never introduced such a policy. We believe it is divisive and wrong. If he's asking me whether I had advance notice of the ban on refugees, the answer is no. If he's asking me if I had advance notice that the executive order could affect British citizens, the answer is no. If he's asking if I had advance notice of the travel restrictions, the answer is we all did, because President Trump said he was going to do this in his election campaign. The question is how you respond. The job of government is not to chase the headlines. The job of government is not to take to the streets in protest. The job of government is to protect the interests of British citizens, and that's exactly what we did.
Mr. Speaker, on the day after the executive order was made to ban refugees and visitors from 7 predominantly Muslim countries, why did she 3 times refuse to condemn the ban then?
I've made very clear that we believe that this policy is divisive and wrong, that it is not a policy that we would introduce. And I've also made very clear when asked about this, that this government has a very different approach to these issues. On refugees, this government has a proud record of the support that we have given to refugees, and long may it continue.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said the United States is responsible for the United States policy on refugees. But surely it is the responsibility of all of us to defend the 1951 Refugee Convention, which commits this country, the United States, and 142 other states to accept refugees without regard to their race, religion, or country of origin. President Trump has breached that convention. Why didn't she speak out?
First of all, I've made absolutely clear what the government's view on this policy is. Secondly, as I've just said, this government has a proud record, and this country has a proud record, of how it welcomes refugees. We have, over the recent years, we've introduced the very particular scheme to ensure that particularly vulnerable refugees in Syria can be brought to this country, and something like 10,000 Syrian refugees have come to this country since the conflict began. We're also the second biggest bilateral donor, helping and supporting refugees in the region. That is what we are doing. I have said that the policy is wrong. We will take a different view, and we will continue to welcome refugees to this country.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Mr. Speaker, I also wrote to the Prime Minister on this issue, and I received her reply this morning. I hold in my hand her piece of paper. She makes no mention of the Refugee Convention nor condemns the US actions. Mr. Speaker, last week I also asked the Prime Minister to assure the House that in any United States trade deal she would not offer up our National Health Service as a bargaining chip. She gave no answer. When asked in the US, she also refused to rule it out. So let's ask her a third time. Will she rule out opening up our National Health Service to private US healthcare companies? Yes or no?
Mr. Speaker, I could give a detailed answer to the right honourable gentleman's question, but I think a simple and straightforward reply is what is required. The NHS is not for sale, and it never will be.
Mr. Speaker, that includes not having US healthcare companies coming in to run any part of our National Health Service. Mr. Speaker, President Trump has torn up international agreements on refugees. He's threatened to dump international agreements on climate change. He's praised the use of torture. He's incited hatred against Muslims. He's directly attacked women's rights. Just what more does the President Trump have to do before the Prime Minister will listen to the 1.8 million people who've already called for his state visit invitation to be withdrawn?
The right honourable gentleman's foreign policy is to object to and insult the democratically elected head of state of our most important ally. Let's just see what he would have achieved in the last week. Would he have been able to protect British citizens from the impact of the executive order? No. Would he have been able to lay the foundations of a trade deal? No. Would he have got a 100% commitment to NATO? No. That's what Labour has to offer this country. Less protection for British citizens, less prosperous, less safe. He can lead a protest. I'm leading a country.